Hello. Um, this is it. So today's episode is about sustainability, climate change, and the environment. I'm your host, Maps, aka Javier, and welcome to The Way with me, Maps. Today we have our guest is a fellow student. His name is Nathaniel, but we call him Nano. So Nano, feel free to introduce yourself.
What's up? I'm Nano. I'm a friend of Maps's. I'm also a fellow alumni dog. Go Dogs. And I'm an environmental engineering major. Well, I plan on being one anyway. Here we are. We're here to talk about the future of the Earth and all that good stuff.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I want to make this show like more casual. So I'm going to try and do that. I feel like last time. So this is our second time trying to record this show. It's pre-recorded, by the way, letting the people know. But last time, I feel like I was pretty rigid, and I took that feedback to heart. And so now I'm going to try and do it a little bit more lighthearted. In terms of just, I really do want it to be just a conversation.
Yeah, we're chilling out here.
We are. Especially tonight. It's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday night, laid back. We just got cookies with Father Jerry. You know, all the dogs should know what that is. If you're not going to cookies with Father Jerry on Sunday nights, please do that.
Facts. Banana chocolate chip, by the way, my favorite flavor so far.
Yeah, pretty solid.
All right. So I guess for starters, the reason I wanted to have Nano on the show was because he's on a plant-based diet. He's also, like he mentioned, environmental engineering. Like, that's, like, his motivations behind it are pretty cool, I think. And I feel like you're pretty active with, like, just being, like, raising awareness on, like, environmental sustainability. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I do my best. I actually think my diet's, like, that helps me bring it up a lot. And that's almost like, the best reason to do it, like, for me. Because I don't eat meat, and I don't eat dairy products often. Some, like today I ate cookies and there's definitely butter in them, and that's just how that goes, but can't be perfect all the time. So but yeah, I always go, like, I eat straight veggies and straight quinoa, you know. That's what I eat at the dining hall. And people always ask me, like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh no, I'm plant-based. They're like, wow, that sounds so hard. I'm like, oh, it's actually not that bad. Like, especially when people make food for you. They're like, but why do you do it? I'm like, oh, okay, well, some people do it because they don't want animals to get killed inhumanely. I agree, but that's not really why I do it. I do it because the meat industry is terrible for the environment. And I think that's something a lot of people recognize and know, but nobody really acts on it. So when people ask me, I'm like, yeah, no, just try it. Like, just try taking red meat out of your diet for a little while. It's not too bad. And it really is it's just the habit. It's just the habit that you got to get over, and then it'll seem normal. Like, I don't really miss meat that much.
Right. I mean, I can kind of vouch because ever since, like, we had that conversation, like, I don't want to say I've cut out red meat entirely, but I have certainly limited my consumption of red meat a lot, in that I haven't really had red meat at Notre Dame, with the exception of have a cheeseburger on, like, 2 game days ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because I was hungry and it was game day. But I feel like also, like, because the way the dining hall is set up here, which is like a buffet, it's like you're kind of forced to be aware of what you're serving yourself, and, like, portions too.
Mm-hmm.
So occasionally, like, I'll opt out of, like, a burger for, like, a chicken sandwich, you know, or, like, now I'm like, and because, like, I know, like, I'm aware that the meat industry is, like, bad, I'll be like, oh, maybe I have a better option to eat, like, maybe not red meat today, you know. But I feel like what you said is pretty good. Is, like, I know that, like, have you cut out, like, beef entirely?
Yeah. So I'll actually just give a little background on me being plant-based. I've been plant-based since, like, the beginning of July, which really isn't that long, but the beginning of July is when I got back from a year abroad in Argentina. And in Argentina, they eat a lot of meat, like red meat is their thing. So, like, I kind of feel like I've eaten enough red meat for an entire lifetime anyway. And then like seeing that, it was just like so glaring. Like, I should definitely change my habits. So yeah, no, I came back and was like, I decided like on the airplane, like, yep, I'm done. I'm done eating red meat. Or I'm done. Like, I'm switching to a plant-based diet. So yeah, since then I think I've eaten like sushi. I might have eaten chicken one time. But and then like cheese every now and then, butter every now and then, but that's it. And I even like convinced my parents to like try it out. I don't know if they're still trying it out, but in my family, but yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and it's probably gonna have to be the future. So
Right.
might as well start now.
Right, yeah. But I like where I was going is like I think it's pretty interesting that like I think you have like a healthy approach to it too, because I like back home I've had like vegan friends or friends that are like very like also like active on just like changing their diets and because of the industry this that and the other. But like I feel like a lot of them are like it's easy to see and kind of focus on the examples where people are just like very extreme. And obviously you want to do it too to where like you're healthy as well and it's not just like you don't want to give up your health for like your diet, you know?
Right.
But I think you do it in a healthy way. Like out of all the people I know, I think you've been doing it the healthiest. I have a friend back home. Her name's Daniela. Shout out Daniela. She's like she's like went vegan for a long time. I don't know if she's still vegan, but I know that lately she's had like this confliction where it's like she's conflicted in between like her diet and her health. She's like wants to stay healthy and knows that like she needs to like occasionally eat some of this like
Yeah.
animal product food.
Mm-hmm.
But like she used to be like no animal products, 100% vegan. So like I know it's a struggle for people that are also like
It is tough.
Yeah.
And I've had those debates with my dad too, because he, I don't know, grew up like believing that milk wasn't like a necessity in your diet, and that meat was good for you, and like deli cold cuts from the grocery store, those are good for you, and like it, and like when I tell him, oh no, those are all probably just bad for you and the environment, it's like it's a challenge to him. So he asked me, oh, like what if I eat like a locally raised, what if this meat is locally raised, grass fed, yada yada? I'm like, okay, yeah, that's probably fine. You're probably good there. But it really is just a fight against the meat industry that I don't really know how much I'm contributing, but it does bring up conversations like this. And like now, I like sometimes people are more aware when they go through the line in the dining halls and all that stuff. So a little impact can go a long way sometimes.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Okay, so like we have like a few things that I want to go over today. I have a lot of like statistic based notes, but like I said, I want to keep it like lighter. So I guess I'm just gonna establish like a topic and we can talk about it.
Sounds good.
So like for like one of the things I want to talk about was like how well for one like America's very big on like meat consumption. I feel like
Yeah.
top of the world.
For
sure. Just I'm gonna shout out some statistics here just because
Hit 'em with
can,
it.
dude, just because I can.
Because you can.
So let's see, like there's this article by the BBC. It's which countries eat the most meat, and so surprise, it's America, dude.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. We have like, it's largely due like there's a correlation between meat consumption and obviously like population levels.
Yeah.
So like you see that a lot where it's like, here it says in the early 1960s there were around 3 billion of us. Today there's more than 7.6 billion, and we both like that's the thing you also talk about where it's like, yeah, dude, like we have like a what do you call it, overpopulation crisis almost.
We're on track to. I think we're on track to just like have a very rude awakening about like our human population on this earth, and I don't think the earth can handle too much more of us. But I don't know, are we going to talk about that now, or are we just going to save that for later?
I mean, we can go for it, dude. Honestly, like
Alright.
make your case.
All right.
Also, I feel like just as a like I don't know, just like a disclaimer, I guess. Like a lot of the stuff we might discuss might sound like pretty radical, but like just take it with a grain of salt. Like not everything is like literal.
We are just like throwing ideas out there. But some of the things, like actually a lot of them, I do just very firmly believe in. Like
Yeah, go ahead.
Like let me toss one out there.
Pop off.
Since like the beginning of humans, every time we find a way to make more food, every like agricultural revolution there is, or green revolution, well, there's like an exponential growth of humans immediately following it.
Right.
So if we just have like growth of humans, and then like everybody's hungry, and then we're like, oh, we found a better way to produce food. So then, boom in food production. Then immediately after, boom in human population.
Right.
And then that can't keep going on forever, you know.
Because there's only so much planet.
Right. So it's gonna, like, at some point, it's like we just are not gonna be able to.
So your theory is that, like,
we are like our resources are finite.
right, of course. Here's another thing too, like, which is a big argument too. Like, some people argue that, like, well, the Earth is pretty big. I don't feel like we're gonna hit our cap population-wise anytime soon. But I feel like that's largely due to the fact that we are, as human beings, we are poor. We do a poor job at, like, distributing resources and people across the space that we have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like people need to start thinking about it not only in a planet scenario, but in a country scenario, because countries are, and, like, borders are definitely, like, as people, we're definitely, like, confined to borders a lot more than just the planet.
And
right?
our resources are.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's, like the economic aspect of it, and just, like, well, like, the U.S. will control and take care of its stuff within the U.S., but, like, for example, China and India, which are, like, the two most populated countries, I think,
yeah,
they're taking care of their people, but like just an overpopulation crisis. Maybe it's like, yeah, we might have a bunch of, like, let's say, I don't know, I'm sure there's even, like, South Bend and, like, this part of Indiana, you could look around and be like, there's a lot of open space out here. Like, I don't see like, the world isn't a city, like, quite yet, like, to where we have to, like, have, like, super tall buildings just to put, like, people on top of people, and just, you know what I'm saying?
There's a lot of space out here in the US.
Yeah, there is a lot of space, but, like, for A, it's not like that across the world,
right?
And B, there's also, like, the entirely opposite, like, argument. There's, like, cities that are just extremely overly populated.
Yeah,
but I see what you mean, where it's like, and that's kind of the scary thing, right? It's like, and I feel like that's not only a food thing. I guess this is a good time to transition to like, climate change. It's only a matter of time before it, like, blows up in our face, you know? And it's like, oh, what? Like, now we have to be forced to deal with this situation, you know?
Yeah. And whenever I talk to people, or oftentimes the people that, like, disagree with me on climate change, they say, like, oh, I think the timeline's wrong. I think we probably have a long time, or humans will figure it out in time.
Right.
I don't know. Every time, most of the times when I hear people say that, I'm like, have you taken an environmental science class? They're like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
I feel like a lot of people haven't taken environmental, like, I feel
Please
like
do. By all means, everybody take one. I feel like, I absolutely think an environmental science class should be like one of those classes you have to take in high school, the way you had to take a government class to graduate and you had to take an economics class to graduate. Take an environmental science class to graduate.
Right.
Because honestly, if we don't have a planet to live on, government and economics don't matter. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people we're certainly representing the more, like, liberal argument, I feel like, or progressive. I don't know what the correct term for it is, but like, we're certainly one side of the, like, there's a political ideology that we follow, like,
yeah, okay.
This.
We do. I think we both probably subscribe to our own political ideologies, but I think this problem and the things we're talking about right now,
bipartisan.
Yeah, there's no arguing facts.
But what I'm saying is there's another side to this argument which we're not really discussing, which is like the economical and, like, and the, like, kind of the argument that you brought up, where it's like, I know a lot of people, like, we have a friend, shout out Tony,
shout out Nee,
not, like, he argues that, like he acknowledges that it's an issue, but he thinks, like, that I mean, we wanted to have him on the show today. It'd be great if we could have, like, a part 2 for this and have him on, where it's just like, we can really hear this for himself. But from my understanding, he thinks innovation will eventually, like, catch up and save us from whatever catastrophes, which is, I think, a big argument too. Like,
I hope.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So, like, a big argument too. Like, again, like, so I went to, like, this Paul Walker event. Paul Walker. What am I saying? Paul Ryan. Sorry, Paul Ryan event from like, Notre Dame was hosting it, and it was a nice talk. And they did bring up climate change, and one of the things he said was just, like, that argument too, where it's like, we just have to let, like, businesses and science do its job to where we can, like, create new and innovative, like, solutions to the problems.
Yeah.
But I don't. My response to that is, I don't think we have the time for that.
I don't know if we have the time for all these, like, new innovations and, like, technological solutions. But aside from that, science has given us other solutions, like a plant-based diet,
Right.
and like I don't know, scientists tell us, hey, get off the fossil fuels, right?
Right.
But we're like, nah, we'll wait for a technological advancement. That's us. That's our response.
Right, right.
Like I don't know. I don't know if that's the best
Yeah.
response. Maybe we should like transition to sustainable energy ASAP because the Earth's dying. Or
Right.
maybe we should all just change our own
Right.
diets.
Yeah, and I do think like a big part of that too is there is like again an economical like standpoint where it's like, well, how do you change the economy that fast for like you're just going to end up destroying the economy? I think there's a way to do it, and I'm going to bring up a little controversial document called the Green New Deal. I know a lot of like I know it's like and here's the thing. I read this whole thing. I encourage everyone to read it. I believe it's 17 pages.
Pretty short.
It's not that long. Here's what so I'm just gonna say like what it consists of. So for one, like it's three parts. I think the first part is like acknowledging the issues. The second part is how do we tackle them, and the third part is the part that I believe is mostly controversial because the third part is so this is this is the document. It says this is the problem. This is how we're gonna solve it, and while solving it, we should also let like it benefit people that have like not been able to historically benefit or like it offers like for example like I think like it talks on like healthcare and like welfare systems because what it wants is the new economy that we're going to establish that's like the new green economy. It wants everyone to benefit equally from that, I think.
Yeah,
and that's why I think it's so controversial.
Yeah. Okay. I think that is rooted in like like people don't agree on the current standings of like who benefits from our economy. I'm a strong believer that previously oppressed demographics have still not recovered from it. I don't know if we're doing anything to help them
Right.
recover from years and years and decades of being institutionally oppressed.
Right.
And yeah, I
I feel
you
like
can't change it all in like
yeah. Right. I
two
feel like
generations.
like that's a whole
That's
whole
a different
other, like,
conversation,
to be
yeah, for
had,
sure.
yeah. But just the fact that like for example, like I feel like the fact that there's that part included in the policy, that's why a lot of like policymakers are like, well, also a lot of like like people that speak on it take it to extremes. Like I know one of the suggestions it gives, it's like, well, if you can take a train somewhere as opposed to a plane, take a train because
Right.
you're like reducing your carbon footprint on the world. Which I
Absolutely.
think is a great thing to do. And honestly, and here's the thing though, because I'm also guilty of this because I'm like I live in Puerto Rico, right?
Right.
So it's like, well, I could take a train, theoretically speaking, to like Florida and then take a 3-hour plane from like let's say Miami to Puerto Rico, right? But like, would I be willing to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how South Bend to Miami is how many hours worth of train, and it's like it's giving up like commodities versus like, for like to reduce your carbon footprint. You know, so like I'm guilty of that, and to an extent.
Yeah, society's like the American society is not yet constructed to make like being sustainable easy.
Right.
I think some places in Europe are pretty good at that, where you can just be like, I've met people from Germany that are just like, yeah, I never learned how to drive. I don't plan on learning how to
Right.
drive. I don't eat meat. My house is like solar powered.
Right.
We don't have air conditioning, and my showers are like 5 minutes max. I'm
I
like,
think it's
that's nuts. You know,
Right,
like,
yeah.
that's what we got to be doing out here.
I think also like it's a different story too because America's so much larger.
It is so much larger.
Like the U.S. is. Like for example, the distance. I'm sure the distance between South Bend and Puerto Rico
is
way farther than like
than Europe.
like not just Europe. I guess like maybe some parts of Europe, but like at least within like let's say Germany, like top to bottom, it's not that big of a country. Like it is like a large country, but in comparison to like the U.S., let's say like Hawaii to Puerto Rico. Which is a controversial statement to make, I know, because Puerto Rico is not a state, but
It's part of the U.S. Count it.
I'm for statehood, so hey, that's another episode
That's another
to be
episode
had, yeah.
too.
But yeah, and kind of oh god, what was it that you said? Right, cars. I kind of want to like have a hot take on cars.
Let's hear it.
I think cars are a thing of the past, dude. And
Yep.
I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about this in a YouTube video. He goes, 99, I don't know if he said 99, it's like 90 something percent of the time your car spends existing, it's just not doing anything. Because it's so true. It's like you wake up in the morning, you like get ready, you get in your car, you turn it on, you drive to work, then you turn it off when you get to work, and you leave it sitting there for a whole day. And then, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's use, and then you go, get back in your car, go home, then you turn it off, then you go to bed, and for all that time that you're in your house, it still sits there, you know?
Absolutely.
So, like, cars are really not really doing anything, and, like, the way forward, if you think about it, or one of the potential ways forward could be just having, like, systems kind of like Uber, Lyft, for one, but eventually also this kind of links up to, like, the whole, Elon Musk Tesla
Self-driving cars.
Yeah, self-driving cars, and they just like there could be definitely exist a future where just you have a finite amount of cars. Like obviously you're going to have a lot of them, but a lot less because not everyone's going to need a car. Because let's say if I just need a ride from like my house to my job or my work wherever I work, I'll get up in the morning, I'll schedule like okay, I need a car to pick me up now, and maybe on an app or something like come pick me up. A car will be there within a guaranteed, let's just say 10 minutes. Which I feel like is reasonable enough.
Yeah, I think so.
And then a car will pick me up, take me to work, drop me off, and then I can go about my work day, and the car can do its thing. You know, it can like
pick up other people.
Other people, yeah, exactly. And if the system's efficient enough, maybe it could like pick up multiple people at once. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I guess there's also like an argument to that. It's like, well, what if I want to own a car? You know, But I'm just saying, like, there could definitely exist a possibility where at least most people, like public transport could turn into that.
Yeah, well, I agree, absolutely. And for those who want to own a car, you can own a car, but I think just, like, financially it's way more reasonable to not own a car.
Right, which is my other hot take, which is I don't think I'm... Okay, well, I guess this largely depends on where you live, because I know being from Puerto Rico, like, everyone, like, uses a car there. You need a car to get around because, like... public transport isn't that like dependable on, like it's not that reliable.
Right.
That's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like my roommate, shout out John, he lives in South Bend, and he's like, yeah, well, you in South Bend you kind of also need a car to get around. So like this is very like dependent on where you live. But for example, like if you live in like big cities, New York, LA, like you could definitely rely on like public transport.
Yeah.
And like like I don't think if I work or like reside and live in like major cities throughout most of my life, I don't think I'm going to need to ever buy a car.
I agree.
Because I could take public transport and or like Lyfts or Uber, and I feel like, I mean, I guess that's a great study to make is like arguably what's cheaper is taking Lyfts and Uber every day cheaper than like paying for gas every week.
Yeah. I think right now it's not, but it will be.
Right. And it also depends on like how like long your distances you travel, you know?
Yeah, true.
But I feel like that's like a hot take. And another one of my hot takes is I want my first car to be electric.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to buy a car that's like and granted, like all the cars in my family, we don't own an electric car because I feel like also they're fairly expensive right now. But like that price is going down, I know, and I'm glad that Elon Musk he's making a truck, like a pickup truck, I think.
That's electric.
And it's electric, and I think he said he wanted to keep. I can't remember the exact like price point, but he said he wanted to keep it under like a certain price that was like fairly cheap for an electric truck, you know.
Yeah.
So like the fact that we need more people like. I mean, this is kind of also controversial. We need more people like Elon Musk, but like in the sense that like we need like business owners to like we need their businesses, and this is also like a controversial thing because some people are like, well, I don't think businesses should be like accountable for how they impact their communities. Me personally, I love me some businesses that impact their community positively, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out Saxby's Coffee is my favorite coffee company, dude. And Nano's laughing because I've said this over like a million times already.
He loves Saxby's.
But it's because I'm not even from Philadelphia. They're based in Philadelphia. And I was there last summer in Philadelphia for a summer program. And I discovered this company and its founder, Nick Bayer. Like, feel free to research.
He knows
like,
the name.
Yeah, dude. Feel free to research this dude and his company, I love it so much because they're just looking for like good ways to impact their community. They especially help a lot of young people out in like colleges, which is lit. But kind of going back to my other point, we need more business owners like that are like, we need to make positive impacts in our community and help out like with real issues. Like if you're like this whole like electric car type like business, it's like, yeah, we should be making these cars cheaper, and we should strive to make them cheaper because that way they're more affordable and more people can then decide to contribute. Like it's it's not just a company, it's a movement. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think the whole point of having self-driving electric cars where people don't really own cars anymore, I think the whole point of that is to stop producing cars.
Right. Which is, again, sorry to interrupt you, but
You're good.
there's so much backlash. And I think this also happens with just like fossil fuel like industries.
Just to produce a car.
Yeah. Just no, but like whatever like change you make, like his movement goes against the industry.
Yeah.
And it's the same with people that are trying to be environmentally sustainable. If you're like, oh yeah, let's cut out fossil fuels, the people that are like at the top of the oil industry, which are probably very wealthy people too, and are very powerful, they're gonna be like, whoa, wait, this is like my way of life, you know, like not my way of life, but like this is how I earn my living, you know,
Yeah.
and like this is and you could also like bring up the case that like maybe some of these people have also had like this is their family business too. You know? And it's just like, this is what my family's known for XXX generations.
It's like part of their identity.
Yeah, like for how many generations? Like it's just like when you tell these people, yeah, like this industry is dying, or this industry, like we have to like when
it becomes an attack on their identity.
And not just their identity, but like just at the very least, they're like how they earn their living.
Yeah, their
and
way of
imagine
life.
when they hear people are trying to tell the government, and that the government's trying to tell them that that they can't run their business anymore. Like that's an issue, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like that's definitely like a thing that like.
Can I bring something up about electric cars though, real quick?
Go ahead.
This is something I individually am struggling with in my head. Like this is something I think about frequently.
Right.
Just because if I'm going into environmental engineering, I want to know that I'm actually creating a sustainable future.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how sustainable like electric cars are, and all these like renewable resources, solar, wind power,
Right.
all the good stuff.
Yep.
All the stuff that we think is really good. I don't know how sustainable that is, because we have to mine all the metals
To make them.
to make the batteries, to make and like all the fossil fuels that we have to use to create renewable energy.
Right.
It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
We are in a sticky situation.
Because
You know?
because it's like we have X amount of time. I believe if I get from the Green New Deal that I read again, but I think it was we have to cut 50% of our emissions by 2030, and 100%, or as close as possible to, I think it was 100, but let's just say as close as possible to 100% by 2050, which is not that long a margin. You know what I'm saying? Like that's rough, dude. Like, and also, which this is another point I kind of want to bring up on that I told you about was, excuse me, this girl Greta Thunberg. She was at like it was like the climate summit for this year.
Yep.
And she made headlines. I'm sure like a lot of people like listening probably heard about this. And this is also kind of like controversial because a lot of people didn't like her. A lot of people did like her. Like, but I just think that like she said something about how like current politicians keep like dishing off this issue towards younger people.
Yeah.
And that's an issue because it's like, dude, once we're able to do something about it, it might be too late. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think like not even politicians, but just people in everyday passing, like my own father included. He's like, oh, it's all up to you guys. I hope you guys do something good. And I'm like, well, we need your help. Come on now. You guys are the ones that run it right now.
Yeah. I think our parents might be the last generation that like they're not like they might just like throughout their lifetimes not be that affected by.
Yeah, they're the last generation, and just because they're near the end.
Exactly.
Like they're like over halfway,
they're at least
maybe,
halfway,
you know. But every generation from here on out, even like everybody right now, like
Right.
humans right now are like feeling the repercussions.
Well, yeah, I kind of want to talk a little bit about that too. It's like I make the argument that like it's like, well, like climate change already is like killing people per year, you know, lots of them. Like
Yeah.
we have hurricanes every year, and I can testify I was there for when Hurricane Maria hit. It's a horrible experience in terms of just like how much damage, not only to like infrastructure and like it costs like so much money for governments to like repair too, but just like a lot of people like die and it's like not a good. And you also have like California and the fires,
the forest fires,
the Amazon fires, dude. They
The
barely got any
Amazon
attention.
fires?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like the Amazon produces. I brought this up in my last show. I can't remember what the number was, but the Amazon produces like a very large percentage of like the world's oxygen.
Yeah.
So it's like we're like it's a bad thing.
And the amount of biodiversity in the Amazon.
Right.
And
Right, and that's
Yeah,
another
it's
thing. I
tough.
guess you can talk about like the impact of biodiversity and how many species are like we're humanity's killing off species. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah. Well, I think it's just like if you ever take an environmental science class or any ecology class, you'll learn that biodiversity is something that evolution has given us for a reason,
right.
so that when bad things happen, not everybody dies. But right now, humans are kind of dominating. They're kind of we are the power player in like the species race right now.
Right.
And we're just like not solely because of us, but like mainly because of us. And
Right.
I would even argue solely because of us. We are killing like so many species. Like I saw some crazy stat that's like 50% of species that were on the Earth X number of years ago are now extinct.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
it does like I don't like that that was from like modern history, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's insane because it's just like there's so much like we are already seeing the impact that like climate change has on us, and like it's
That's why I think it's
unfortunate.
almost it's like economically like it's better for the economy to act now
to
on
take
climate change.
yeah and take the hit now than
take the
later.
hit now than later because of all the hurricanes, the
That's my
forest
argument,
fires, the
Like how
the
much is
earthquakes that are
Yeah.
it's all
Like,
it's
it-
bad.
yeah, if it's gonna take a hit now, imagine later when it actually like gets a lot worse, and especially if we hit the point of no return,
Yeah,
which
and,
is coming up soon.
and can I talk about how this is like a social justice issue too?
Is it?
Because you think about it, imagine it, like in the years, like imagine 50 years down the road, bunch
Right.
of natural disasters, like hurricanes are like pounding like Bangladesh, for example. Where are all those people gonna go? They're like, if you have the money, you're probably gonna be able to get out of there.
I see what you mean.
If you don't have the money, you're just gonna die.
Right. Like when it comes to
Where
having
are you
move-
gonna move to? India?
like when what you're saying is like, for example, this is one example, when the ice melts entirely, right? Like the polar ice caps and whatever, like the sea level goes up a lot. It's like not everyone's gonna be able to move away from the coasts, you know?
Yeah.
Only people that have the resources and like the money to get out of there are going to be able to do fine, but you're definitely going to have like huge amounts of just like migration across like the continents, you know,
Yeah.
where it's just, and also this kind of like this kind of contributes too to like the like border like issues in like
Yeah.
the United
Immigration,
States too, and just worldwide, is like like now we're relatively okay, I guess. But imagine like if like you just have this super mass flooding, and I feel like I'm not sure about this, but I feel like along the Amazon there's gonna be a lot of that, like the Amazon River.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure, but maybe.
I think like because like naturally if it goes up, I feel like rivers are gonna be some of the most affected places. But you're just gonna have like this. Like I know definitely like a lot of Florida's going underwater.
Yeah,
New-
Florida's probably screwed.
New York is like New York City.
New York City will probably like see that's the thing. I don't know the timeline for that though.
Right, no, right. But I'm just saying
Nobody
it's-
really knows, but it could be sooner than we think.
right. But it's either way, it's happening sooner or later.
Yeah.
And so whenever that
If we don't change.
if we don't change.
Like ASAP.
Yeah. And so whenever that is, you're going to have people, like a lot of people probably migrating to the USA.
To the Midwest, baby.
To South Bend, Indiana, to
South
Notre
Bend.
Dame. No.
To Montana, to Wyoming.
But I'm just saying, like, you might, like, the U.S. might have, and, like, bigger countries that are able to handle the climate change, like, the climate change dilemmas are going to have an influx of people coming in.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just a thing that's going to happen. But, again, it's like, arguably some people won't be able to afford that, and those people are probably going to die.
Yeah, just, like, that's such a...
Yeah. This is a pretty gruesome episode, but it's just, like, I feel like sometimes you just have to say things
It's gruesome,
like
but
they
it's
are,
it's
you know?
honest.
Yeah, it's like that's what's going to happen if we get there, you know?
It's honest, and it, like...
Right.
I think, like, because we are the ones who have created this, it is a responsibility of ours to not
sure.
ignore it.
For sure.
And, like, we have to have these conversations.
Yeah.
We have to talk about how, people in Puerto Rico are dying out here. Or, like,
That's
they
facts.
died. A lot of people died.
Yep.
Because
Of the hurricanes that
of
were
hurricanes that were
largely
caused...
due to climate change, yeah. And
largely
people
due
in
to
California
human-
also, I don't know if the California fires are still going or not, but I know that they were definitely a big thing that...
Well, they're definitely not done, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
even if, like, a forest fire is put out now...
Oh, yeah, the same thing with, like...
It's coming.
Yeah. And Puerto Rico had some, like, storm warnings this, like, hurricane season. I'm glad that none of them hit because, honestly, I don't know if we, as a people, can, like, take that much damage so quickly. And maybe we got saved this time, but the Bahamas were the ones that got, like, hit big this year, you know? And so next year it'll be, like, another like, Caribbean country, and eventually storms are going to be big enough, I feel like, to hit the U.S., like, they already have Houston had, like, a big one the same year we had one, and so did Florida. But eventually, like, they're just going to keep coming, you know?
They're hitting harder. They do
Every
get
year.
more violent each time.
Yeah, every year. But, yeah, that's a thing that's happening. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit here back to, like, the whole diet aspect and have another hot take is what is the solution to the diet situation? And I feel like this is a big thing. So my sister, shout out Alexandra, she's doing like a project at like for her high school that is like about sustainability, and like one of the solutions maybe potentially to this whole like situation is that people should start eating insects, bro.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that, and I believe, bro, in our lifetimes, we will be eating insects for protein. In our lifetimes.
I already have because I'm testing, like, I'm one of the guinea pigs for her, like, little
Go
project.
crazy. Yeah.
So she's made, like, desserts and foodstuffs, and
And it's not that bad. You crush it up, make it a powder. It's not that bad.
that's what she uses. She doesn't use
Exactly.
whole crickets. She uses cricket flour.
That's what I'm saying.
And cricket flour is not, like, it's literally tasteless when you put it in food.
It's just like flour,
We
dude.
put it in desserts, and honestly, if you
didn't know it was cricket,
if you don't tell people what's in it, obviously you can't do that. But I'm just saying, like, people will like be paranoid. Obviously, if you like, oh,
Yeah.
do you want a cricket cookie or a regular chocolate chip? You know, like, you could have a chocolate chip cookie with and put some, like, I don't know, cricket flour in it, and like it'll be fine. Like, obviously you make it the same way, but maybe like desserts is different. But like just to up the protein intake, you could give someone like. Let's say I got really into, like, spaghetti cooking. I was cooking lots of spaghetti over the last summer.
Okay.
And you make that with flour and eggs, obviously.
Yep.
And you can make, like, probably integrate some
Cricket powder in that.
cricket powder in the recipe.
flour, yeah.
And then you can make, like, cricket spaghetti. Like, it's
Protein
in the noodle.
spaghetti.
And maybe that way you don't need to eat meat with your, like,
Exactly.
spaghetti. And you could just
That's
eat
what
spaghetti.
I love to hear. And then you have a balanced meal.
Right. Because there is meat in it. It's just cricket powder.
Yeah. No, I do think that's absolutely the future because there's going to come a time when we realize, hey, we need to cut the meat.
Right. Right.
Or our economy will transition away from the meat industry. But then, yeah, we'll be out here eating bugs, insects for our protein.
Right. I'm gonna give some stats here again for this is article by NBC News on
Hit 'em with it.
how crickets could save the planet.
Let's hear it.
So again, largely due to like world population is creeping up on 7.5 billion.
Oof.
But estimates suggest that we'll have a whopping 9 billion mouths to feed by 2050, which is a big hit
That's soon,
for
dude.
the planet. And it says, unless we all stick to salads, the global production of meat will need to double in that time to feed our growing population.
See? Oh, gosh.
And it says that this seemingly large food security problem may have a bite-sized solution: insects. In a 2013 report, the FAO, which is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, suggested our current farming and food production practices are unsustainable. No duh. But the edible insects are a viable, untapped resource that can help meet the food and water demands of the world's ever-expanding population. Multiple farms have dedicated to like producing crickets for human consumption and has sprung up in recent years. Like one of the big things it notes is that the American public will have to get rid of their ick factor of eating bugs.
Ick factor,
Yeah, because a lot of people are going to be like, that's disgusting.
It is one of those things. It'll be an ick thing for a time. The way like before people eat
Right.
sushi, they're like, nah,
Exactly.
that's nasty.
And I think, but it's going to be probably worse because I feel like sushi's. Well, I mean, to be fair, I'm biased. I love sushi.
You love sushi. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, most people that eat sushi love sushi.
Right.
But before sushi,
I
you
see
tell
what you
people,
mean.
eat this raw seafood,
Right.
eat some like, I don't know.
Get this, dude. This
fish
is a
eggs.
cool fact. It says the FAO estimates that 2 billion people consume insects regularly already, and some research suggests that that number may be up to 3 times higher, about 80% of the Earth's population. So it's really just an American idea that it's not okay to eat insects. But like in a lot of cultures, like it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like especially in like Asia and South America, you see a lot of just people that it's fine to eat insects.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be, honestly.
It will be. It
yeah.
will be in due time.
It says
In due time, we're gonna be like Timon and Pumbaa from that one scene in The Lion
yeah,
King,
dude.
or we're just grubbing.
Hakuna,
That's gonna be us.
And then we're gonna be Hakuna Matata.
Then we're gonna
dude.
be Hakuna Matata.
And that's the objective. It says entomophagy, or entomophagy, the
There you
practice of eating insects, is most common in the tropics, where insects are very abundant, whereas in higher latitude areas, such as much of Europe, that aren't constantly exposed to vast amounts of insects, like they don't have that practice because they weren't constantly exposed. It's like an evolutionary thing. It says it is theorized that this could be one of the main obstacles that has historically prevented entomophagy from taking root in places like North America. When Christopher Columbus first came to the New World, he encountered indigenous peoples who ate bugs, a behavior described as being like beasts because the crew had only seen it before in animals. Experts believe we still haven't gotten over this reaction. So it's like in given this context, it's kind of like a primitive or like I'm gonna say an antiquated belief that eating insects is not okay, because it's been going on ever since colonial times.
Yeah.
So like it's about time we get over this like obstacle and just be like, hey man, maybe you just got to start eating insects for a bit. And I feel like that's a great way to just, you know what I'm saying? Like just
Absolutely. No, I think the native peoples.
right.
I don't know what the politically correct term for them is anymore.
Yeah.
I've heard American Indians.
Okay.
I've also heard Native Americans.
Okay.
But they were onto stuff
Right.
in terms of like
Lifestyle. Yep.
living in harmony with nature. And then I feel like a lot of like when Columbus came over and the Europeans came over, it was kind of like, you live so closely with nature that you're probably just a savage.
Right.
Well, you're a beast.
Yeah.
And we're gonna civilize you. We're gonna make you
Yeah.
civil.
That was definitely the colonial mindset.
It's like stop eating bugs and build a car. You know, or like
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Build a car, burn this gas. Stop eating bugs. Eat this cow that
Sorry.
I've been feeding corn.
yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Little
says,
time jump, but yeah, that's how it is.
70% of arable land goes to meat production.
Oh, I know. Oh, dude, that's another social justice issue, dude. If we would just grow plants for humans to eat,
Right.
so many more mouths could be fed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if that's like a good thing for the earth though, because then that would just lead to a lot more humans. But I don't know if that's like more of an ethical
this.
thing.
On average, beef takes up 200 square meters of arable land. Pork takes up 50. Chicken, 45. And adult crickets, dude, 15, dude. 15 square meters. It's pretty good.
For adult crickets.
Yeah.
for the same amount of protein, or the same amount of like mouths to feed? Is that what you're saying, or are you saying?
Like in terms of just how much space they take up to produce 1 kilogram of each.
Oh, 1 kilogram. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So that's like a great like trade-off ratio. It also says that
I'd eat bugs.
if a family of 4, like mine, eats
Ew.
cricket protein 1 day a week for 1 year, they would save the planet 650,000 liters of water.
See? That's what you love to hear. That's what kind of gives me hope.
Right. It says, let's see, I got these cricket stats, a whole library of them because my sister's doing this project, so I had her send me some of this.
That's tight that your sister's doing this project. by
Yeah,
the
that's
way.
facts. It takes roughly 1 gallon of water, 2 pounds of feed, and 134 square feet of land to produce 1 pound of crickets, which is like nothing, you know?
Yeah. Do you have a comparison between crickets or like bugs and
And beef.
and like nuts, like almonds? Because
Oh,
I know like
see
it
that,
takes
yeah.
like an absurd amount of water for like 1 almond or something like that.
Right.
I feel like
Right. I don't have the nut versus bug comparison, but I feel like that'd be a good thing to have.
That'd be
I do
interesting.
have, watch this, dude. It says, why should I eat crickets? They're healthy, sustainable, and delicious. 80% of countries and 2.5 billion people already eat them. In a 200-calorie serving, crickets give you 31 grams of protein, and 90%
That's nuts.
and 90% lean beef only gives you 22.4 grams.
that's nuts. dude.
Farmed salmon gives you 20.
That's nuts.
Crickets have in that same 200-calorie serving, crickets have 8.1 grams of fat, and 90% lean beef has 11.2 grams. Omega-3 crickets have 1.8 grams, whereas 90% lean beef has only 0.04 grams
Of omega-3.
of omega-3. And of fiber, 90% lean beef has 0,
Mm-hmm.
and crickets have 7.2 grams. So it's a pretty good trade-off when you just get like it comes down to the statistics.
Exactly.
There's-
Like it. Yeah.
There's approximately 5,000 crickets in 1 pound of cricket flour.
And just from an athletic standpoint, with my diet, a lot of people are like, "How do you get your protein?"
Right, exactly.
And I think we
dude.
probably consume more protein than we actually need anyway. And I think people underestimate how much protein you can get from plants.
Yeah, I see that.
But
Yep.
crickets, there's just no point to eat beef at this point. I guess some people think it tastes better.
Right.
But how many people out there have tried crickets?
I think arguably it's not just that. It's about, I feel like ultimately it's how you cook it too.
Yeah,
Like
true.
there's got to be like
some
some
beef just tastes terrible.
Yeah, there's got to be some great cricket recipes, I'm sure of it.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you get a good enough chef to like, dude, you get like,
Call up the Food Network channel right now.
yeah, somebody get Gordon Ramsay on the line, dude.
Gordon Ramsay.
I'm sure if you get like a celebrity chef to get behind this and get athletes behind this too,
Oh,
like
it'd start booming.
like LeBron James or like just big name athletes and Tom Brady, dude.
Call them up. Yo, also, I'm pretty sure Tom Brady's on like a plant-based diet or something. I know Tom Brady's got a very strict like. Yeah, I'm saying if you want to be Tom Brady, then stop eating beef.
That's literally, if you stop eating beef forever, you're gonna become Tom Brady in a month, dude.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
allegedly.
Let's see here what other facts I got or what other hot takes. Oh, by the way, like there's this booming business that like they're using they're using cricket powder to make protein bars.
See, I would eat that too.
And that's a
That
business.
sounds slap.
It's like it's startups. A bunch of startups are making like and putting them into like shakes, like protein shakes and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure you get way more bang for your buck in terms of protein, even when you compare that to like plant-based protein or like some like soy protein or I don't know where the like some soy protein isolate.
Right.
I'm sure you get your cricket flour or cricket powder in there and you're I don't know, it's bulking season, boys.
Yeah, I mean, crickets are not just insects are known to have like very high protein
Yeah.
like contents.
You ever seen a gorilla?
Yeah.
Homeboy's like
Buff.
a lot of mass of like a lot of muscle.
Right.
What's he eating? Or she?
Isn't it plants?
Plants and bugs, dude. That's
Dude.
it. That's where all their protein comes from.
You seen Lion King, dude?
I have seen Lion King.
What's Simba eating, dude?
Bro, he was mowing down on some of those grubs.
That's what
I
I'm
won't
saying.
lie,
If you
bro.
want to be Simba and be the king of the jungle, dude. If you want to be the Lion King, if you want to be as buff as a gorilla, dude, start getting on these
Yeah.
on this cricket.
Plant-based diet, cricket-based diet.
Cricket-based diet.
No, in all seriousness, yeah. Like, this is
Yeah.
probably the future of our
Facts.
diets.
Another thing that I stats that I had here was that like cutting out your beef like intake, it does the same amount of impact on like the world as like going vegan or something. You know, like beef is such a big part
Yeah,
of it.
beef is the enemy.
Beef
Yeah.
is like, it's not like, dude, like if you want to eat chicken, dude, like, because I feel like that's like people like me, you know.
Yeah, I've even been thinking like, is it really like could I eat chicken?
Like I'm not about that cutting meat entirely off my diet life.
yeah.
But I could be okay with like reducing my beef like consumption and being like go ham on the fish, go ham on the chicken, and go ham on the crickets for sure, dude.
Go ham on the crickets for sure.
Yeah.
I've beef with can I say something
Yeah,
real
go
quick
ahead.
about like I have beef with like even the chicken industry anyway.
Right. Just for clarity purposes, when you say you have beef, it means you have a problem with the
Yeah.
chicken.
I
Because we've been talking about
We've been
beef.
talking about beef too much.
Some people
Good
might get
point.
confused.
Yeah,
Be like,
okay.
what?
But I do have beef. Okay, I also have beef with like overfishing. That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And
And
a lot of the
farming.
species, a lot of the like fish species that we
Fish
like to
farming.
eat now and that we see in the oceans, like
Yep.
we're talking like salmon. Well, not in the oceans, but salmon. We're talking tuna. We're talking
Sharks, rip sharks.
rip sharks, like shark fin soup, rip sharks. If you guys don't know what that is, like a lot of people are killing sharks to eat their shark fins to put them in shark fin soup, and now sharks, whatever that species of shark is endangered.
Right.
Cod, like these fish species that we love to eat, they're about to be gone soon.
Facts.
Just because we eat so much of them.
That's true.
Yeah, it's treacherous times, and
Yep.
that just throws off ecosystems, which is just bad for.
And
Wait,
also,
yeah.
who wants to, like, do we want to be responsible for wiping out salmon, dude?
We don't. We
And-
super don't.
And also, I don't want to live in a world where I have to tell my kids there used to be this great tasting fish called salmon, dude.
Oh, I know.
I'm afraid that if I have kids, I'm afraid that they might not ever see a giraffe.
Bro, let me hit you with something even more crazy. We're going to show our kids someday, we're going to show them Finding Nemo. And they're going to be like, where is that?
Yeah.
And we're going to be like, that's the Great Barrier Reef. And they're going to be like, can we go visit it someday? And we'll be like, no, it's dead. We killed it, dude.
That's
That-
on
like,
us.
That is on us. Can we talk about coral bleaching for a hot second?
Go ahead.
Coral bleaching is this thing that's happening because, all right, coral is like the structure. It is a living organism, but it is kind of the structure of coral reefs.
Right.
Right. And with all this carbon that we're putting into the air, the carbon in the air mixes with ocean water, which acidifies the ocean, and it has acidified the ocean enough to that where the super sensitive coral can't live, so it just gets bleached, like it literally turns white and then dies. And that the reefs, the coral reefs, are the rainforests, the jungles of the ocean.
Yep.
So we talk about like the Amazon burning. The Amazon is burning, and that's terrible. The exact same thing is happening with like the Great Barrier Reef.
And it's been happening for a
bleaching.
while now,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and also a lot of oxygen. Like we sleep on how much oxygen coral produces,
Right.
and the ocean produces anyway.
For sure. I didn't even think
Coral-
about that.
What's phytoplankton? That's where a lot of our oxygen comes from too.
Right.
But yeah, coral's dying. It's sad. We're like Finding Nemo is about to be like not realistic anymore.
Yeah, that's an L, dude. I don't want to live in that world. What was that? Here's another thing, a hot take. Well, this isn't even a hot take. This is just a fact. A study came out. There's an article by the Daily Mail, the UK branch.
All right.
It says glaciers are moving 100 times faster than we thought. And this study came out, like this article at least came out on September 20th, which was not that long ago.
Yeah, that was so recent.
Yeah, it says an explosive new study shows that surface meltwater is causing a sudden and rapid acceleration in the flow of glaciers towards the sea. which is
bad for the glaciers
for sea level rising too.
and terrible for sea level rising.
Yeah, it says scientists discovered that meltwater is causing some glaciers to move at speeds 100% faster than average, up to 400 meters per year, for a period of several days, multiple times a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess in a gist, it's basically like the melted part of the glacier on the bottom is making it slide faster.
Yeah, it's
So
a slip and slide. It's a real life slip and slide for the glaciers out here. They're headed to the water, and that's bad for the glaciers. That's bad for life.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. Speaking of glaciers, I went to Glacier National Park over the summer. If you haven't been there, go there as soon as you can.
Because not going to be there for long.
Because it's not about to be there in a little bit. Because I was talking to the rangers at the park. They're like, yeah, we expect that like by 2030, all the glaciers will be melted. And I don't even think we can do anything to stop that at this point.
That's a no.
So it is an L. It's a beautiful, beautiful national park. Beautiful. Yeah, and it's gone. It's about to be gone. And when the glaciers melt, this is what happens.
Yep.
Because in the summers, the vegetation, all the plants, the vegetation, the ecosystem relies on the melting glaciers to provide fresh water for all that life.
Right.
When the glaciers are all gone, it becomes a desert in the summer.
That's facts.
All these species are going to they'll die, or they'll move somewhere else. They'll move to where more fresh water is, or they'll die, and then Glacier National Park will cease to exist. And that's an L.
That's a massive L.
I don't think anybody can fight anybody on that. That just is an L.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will your city be underwater? As many as 3.7 million U.S. residents in 2,150 coastal areas could be battered by damaging floods caused by global warming-induced storm surges.
Yeah.
Sea levels could rise as much as 19 inches by 2050, according to what the report calls mid-range projections. The team used data from the U.S. Geological Survey to map all areas along the continental U.S. coastline containing homes that lie within 1 to 10 feet from the water level at high tide. Previous estimates looked at an area elevation above sea level, but not at an area's elevation relative to high tide, which underestimated the impact. Rising sea levels could cost the world $14 trillion a year by 2100. Yeah. Failure to meet the United Nations 2-degree Celsius warming limits will lead to sea level rise and dire global and economic consequences, new research has warned. So that's just the statistics to show how much damage really that the high tides could cost us.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the biggest, I feel like, counter argument to the whole economic aspect of it.
Right. You act now. Well, for the listeners who don't know who Andrew Yang is, he's just a Democratic candidate. Who knows how far he's going to make it. But in a debate, he was all the candidates were asked what they thought about climate change and all that stuff. And everybody was like, oh, this plan, that plan. And he was like, move to high ground. Just super straight up, honest, brutally honest, slap you in the face honest. Yeah, guys, move to high ground.
Yeah.
Because we are not on a path to change anything. The U.S. specifically is not on a path to change anything. So, yeah, all these people that live on within 10 feet of, they're 10 feet above the high tide or something, whatever Javi just said, those people need to move to high ground.
Right.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah. Another statistic says kind of the same article, the global annual flood costs without adaptation will increase up to $14 trillion per year for a median sea level rise of 0.86 meters and up to $27 trillion per year for 1.8 meters. This would account for 2.8% of the global GDP in 2100, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I hate to cut it short, but we are literally 50 seconds away from finishing our show time. So
right.
I'll just say that we might very well be back for a part 2 because I feel like
it's been a blast.
We said a lot, but there's a lot more to be said.
There's a lot to be said.
Just basically be environmentally conscious. I'm currently switching airing times and streaming times, so be updated for that. I'm still like calculating the details. But basically, yeah, thank you for tuning in, guys. Please
Stay away from the beef.
yeah, stay away from the beef, and please tune into our next show. I believe the topic might be health and wellness and like fitness and that type of stuff.
Could also still be relevant to cutting meat out of your
Right.
diet.
But yeah, this has been The Way with Maps. Thank you very much for joining us, and thanks for tuning in.